Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Mark, and the National Urban League for convening us at this moment when clarity, not confusion, is what business leaders need the most. I'm Alphonso David. I'm a civil rights attorney, and I run the Global Black Economic Forum, which is an international enterprise focused on advancing economic opportunity for marginalized communities. Let me start with a simple truth that keeps getting buried by the noise. Diversity is not illegal. What is happening is a flood of misinformation that is distorting how business leaders are assessing risk. Here's the reality. Diversity is not a risk. The real risk is misreading the law, misreading the market, and misreading the future. Because when companies misread the market, they lose. According to a report that the Global Black Economic Forum issued, minority-owned businesses represent 22% of all employer firms, yet they only receive 6% of federal contract dollars. That means 94% of contract payments go to white-owned companies. That is not a neutral outcome. It's a capital being misallocated at scale. Misreading the market means overlooking businesses that generate more than $360 billion in annual economic output and sustain more than 1 million jobs. It means shrinking your supplier base, limiting innovation, and weakening resilience at the exact moment that global competition is intensifying. Misreading the future means believing that you can build a growth strategy that excludes the fastest growing segments of the economy and still win. You cannot. Markets do not reward fear. They reward alignment with reality. And misreading the law means allowing misinformation to substitute for legal analysis. The data shows that pulling back diversity does not reduce risk. It creates it by narrowing opportunity, increasing inefficiencies, disconnecting companies from the economy they claim they want to lead. So when companies attempt to pull back from diversity initiatives based on panic headlines or bad legal advice, they are not reducing risk. They're actually creating it. Reputational risk looks like abandoning commitments to consumers and talent that can see right through it. Financial risk looks like shrinking your market while competitors are actually expanding theirs. Legal risk looks like walking away from compliance best practices while discrimination complaints rise. And yet, some leaders are making decisions inside a culture of confusion, conflation, and fear. They're conflating executive orders with laws. They're conflating noise with the law. They're treating political theater as legal reality. Leadership requires asking harder questions. What does the law actually say? Not what a press release says. What does the data show about performance, about retention, about growth? And who actually benefits when companies retreat from inclusion and who pays the price? So here's the bottom line. You are not building a company of the future if diversity is optional. You're not competitive globally if your strategy is narrow and myopic. You're not resilient if fear rather than the facts drives your decisions. Courage is not reckless, it's really disciplined. Courage is following the data. Courage is leading markets instead of causing backlash. And let's remember, for those business leaders that may not have all of the information, shareholders in large companies are rejecting attacks on diversity. In fact, 30 of the largest US companies, collectively worth more than $13 trillion, from Apple to American Express, from Costco to Goldman Sachs, saw 100% of anti-diversity proposals fail last year. This moment is about asking business leaders to decide whether they will be shaped by misinformation or anchored in reality. And history is clear about companies that are anchored in reality. They end with higher revenues, greater information, greater innovation, and greater success. Thank you.